Alright, so this this video may not be, I don't know, I haven't really put my thoughts together about this. It's interesting because Vermont is pretty much almost as far as away as you can get from California, right? I mean, that's just geographically true. I suppose it's true in a number of other ways also. I just had no idea what the entertainment industry was really like. I did not know. I mean, if you grow up in Los Angeles, I don't think there's no way you can even avoid it, having some knowledge of that industry and how it works and that kind of thing. It's just like the whole place is just. So I don't really. It certainly has been an educational process. You know, mostly unpleasant, quite terrifying in terms of how quickly things exploded a few years ago. They just exploded in 2010. They exploded. You know, it's just this really lethal combination of money and fame and politics, and is causing a serious world crisis of human rights abuses. It just is. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I guess the kind of the way I started thinking about it right at the beginning was like when I saw it was like, wow, you know, it's just the entertainment industry is this like pocket of serious misogyny, really serious misogyny, and it had basically the attitudes of that place have not changed in 100 years, more than 100 years, and now it has exploded all over the world. It has, you know, because it's very. I think, you know, that and again the combination of the entertainment industry and politics, it's just a total disaster. It's a total disaster what's happened over the past few years. And you know, this movie Son of a Woman, right? I was when that movie was in the theaters, I was, how old was I? 18? I guess I must have been 18. It was 1992. And it didn't even occur to me that it had any the title of the movie had any connotation other than kind of what was talked about in the movie in terms of like the main character being around a woman and being able to like know which perfume she was wearing. It just literally did not even occur to me. And for years afterwards, it didn't occur to me either. I mean, I had lots of other things to try to figure out and analyze and that kind of thing. It just didn't even occur to me. It's not like I watched the movie over and over again. I saw it in the theater, I think, and I might have seen it like on TV or whatever. But it just didn't even occur to me. It did not even occur to me. And now, kind of thinking about it in retrospect, it's like, all right, well, what was the movie really about? You know, what was the purpose of naming it that movie? And from what I remember of the movie, it doesn't really involve women very much at all. It's just kind of all about men, really, for the most part. And women are just kind of an adjunct to men. They're not. Even though the movie is called what it's called, it's still pretty objectifying. And and certainly now I can think about it. Wow, that's certainly not my favorite title of the movie. It's not a movie I ever felt the need to watch over and over again. One thing in particular about it, which I've thought about a few times, is I think maybe it's an example of this. Something that doesn't really get talked about very much, I think, is like older male jealousy of younger men. I just don't think it gets talked about very much. You know, I think it's certainly present. I think it's part of everyday life. I think it's something men don't talk about. Like there's all sorts of things they don't talk about. Women are constantly being given the bad rap. Is it bad rap or bad rap? I don't know. About being jealous of younger women, that kind of thing. And yet it seems to me that male jealousy of younger men is a serious problem. Has probably gone on for a long time, is expressed in all sorts of ways that are just as petty and subtle and that kind of thing, and vicious and oppressive as all of the things that women get accused of all the time. Maybe not quite as verbal. Maybe there's more of a physical dynamic to it, right? I mean, it's just that's easier. That's kind of an easier thing to do, and among men, physical size and strength is sort of a big issue. You know, I mean, it really is kind of more than women, I suppose, to a certain extent. But I think it certainly happens. You know, I mean, I think it's something that's not really probably just not explored that much. I did a couple searches. Was it yesterday? I did a couple searches actually. This is also not atypical. I did one search of the term older women jealous of younger women, and it just brought up all this stuff. I mean, it was just like, you know, it's like it's culturally assumed that if you're an older female, you have to be jealous of any young woman who's any woman who's younger and prettier than you. Just automatic assumption, right? And even when I did a search of the term older men jealous of younger men, there was almost nothing. Right? Not only was there almost nothing, but it actually what happened was it gave some of the same research results for older women being jealous of younger women. There's just no acknowledgement of it. So what was interesting about it, when I went back and looked at a clip of Scent of Woman yesterday, it was just really, I mean, what a really good actor Chris O'Donnell really was at such a young age. You know, there he was. He definitely did fine in terms of being with a much older and much more experienced actor, you know, Al Pacino at the time. And it's interesting. I mean, there's all these very, very emotional scenes, even the ones that were less emotional, he did well in those too. I mean, this is a guy, I think, Chris O'Donnell at the time. I have thought about that before. I've thought about it before. Not like, you know, all the time or anything, but it seems like kind of an example of someone who I think it happens pretty often in Hollywood. Someone is just too much of a good thing, right? Too good looking, too talented, maybe has too many morals, at least at the beginning, and everybody else who's already famous or wants to be famous looks at him or looks at her and thinks, wow, I'm really not all that interested in having you succeed. I'm feeling pretty threatened by you, and I'm not. Maybe you are just too good for me actually to like openly attack. But I think what I'm gonna do is not go out of my way to give you lots of support, not go out of my way to give you lots of endorsements. I'm just gonna kind of let you be, see how you do. You know, if somebody asks me about you, I'm gonna say whatever it is, give you some kind of tepid recommendation, or say, oh yeah, he's fabulous, and quickly change the subject. And it's good. And your career just kind of gets me good luck. Hey, thanks for being such a great actor with me, so that I'm better in the performance that I gave, that won me an Academy Award. And good luck to you. Yeah, that was fabulous. Thanks. Goodbye. It's my impression that that's what happened, and even it's interesting. And the thing is too, I mean, there was this absolutely gorgeous woman in the movie, Gabrielle Anwar. I'm not sure how you say her name, Gabrielle or Gabrielle. She was just so beautiful, you know, and did a good job in the movie. Probably could have done anything, and yet I don't know, you know, God only knows what were the choices that she made. I know she's a mother also. That has to be very difficult, but you know, I mean, she's just so beautiful, and has the English accent and everything else. I think I would not be surprised if there are a couple of things happen with that. One is, you know, I mean, say you have two guys on a movie set and a very beautiful woman, and she just naturally is more attracted to the younger guy. It's just, you know, it's just the way she feels. You know, even if nothing ever happened with her and Chris O'Donnell, you know, you got the older guy, and it's scripted for him to have this dance with her, but then, you know, on set or around or whatever it is, she is polite and basically just not all interested in you. You know, polite, friendly, lots of jokes, that kind of thing. You're a big star, but just not where she might have been 20 years ago, you know, or 30 years ago, however long it would have been, right? And then you see that she just is more responsive normally, naturally. So Chris O'Donnell walks in the room, and you know, she sees him and he sees her, and it's just all, you know, it's all maybe very unspoken, and yet means two people whose careers, what, they're on TV now, right? There's something to be said. I mean, television, I think, in general is more challenging. It's a more challenging medium to do well week after week than like one movie. You know, television is kind of underrated that way. Probably because most people don't really do it all that well, you know. But in terms of like writing every week for television and acting every week for television, it's I mean, what could be more difficult, really? At least with a play, as difficult as it may be, you're doing the same thing every week. But television, you have to think of something else every week. You know, you got to write the story, you got to make it interesting, you have character development, you have all sorts of things that you have to deal with. Television, I think, is one of the most difficult mediums to work in terms of like performing arts. I really do. And there's which also explains why there's so much of it that's terrible. So that's kind of what I was thinking about yesterday. I thought about it. I've thought about it before. You know, But I think what I'm also beginning to understand is that this is none of this stuff is going to get solved overnight. I have noticed this. It's almost funny. It is kind of funny, sad and funny for me to think about it now. In terms of what I was thinking at the beginning of it all. You know, I mean, literally every night for the first 3 years or so of this entire disaster starting in 2010, personal disaster for me, serious disaster for the world, I was thinking, oh no, I mean, it's got to be over by tomorrow. What I wrote about today was so shocking and so horrible. You know, it's just so that it's got to be over by the morning. And it never is, because it's all just ingrained, totally systemic, you know, it goes around the world. Human rights are losing. And it just may be that I'll have to live my life in a world where child molestation is legal. I'm going to have to live my life out that way. You know, it just may be that I will live throughout the rest of my life in a world where women are just legally and socially and casually considered to be secondary to men, are expected to have their rights trampled on and never say anything back. You know, I mean, it's just it may be that that's the life that I'm going to have to live out if I decide that I will continue to live in this world, even though that's what it turns into. It may be, you know. Talk about a detachment issue. Talk about how difficult that's going to be. You know, just a heartbreaking thing to just see the world turn into that. You know, day after day and year after year. Either way, you know, certainly the things that I talk about in terms of how important they are, it's not going to happen overnight, because basically when you get right down to it, it's about power, money, power, money. You know, sex used as a social weapon, all of those things. And those are themes that have been around for as long as people have been around, and it's just not going to get solved overnight. I wish it would, but it won't.